Hi, I'm Bran, and I love believing in stuff.
I'm Dan. I despise everything that is this movie.
I'm Alonso, and can you even believe? And this
It's the Deck the Hallmark Podcast.
Deck the Hallmark, it's his podcast. Brandon and friends host his podcast. We hope you like this jolly podcast.
Hello, everybody. Happy Monday. It's great to be back. Talking about some Christmas movies that we're talking about.
That's right.
The ones
this
we
is
found.
definitely
we
a Christmas
found them.
movie for August.
Has it written all over. We're talking Believe 2016. We'll get to that.
There's a lot of believes out there. Make sure you watch the right one or don't. Either way.
Yeah. Maybe click on the other ones, see how it goes. I don't know. You can do whatever you want to.
roll those dice.
Alonso, hi. How are you?
Hi. Good. It's it's August. It is August, but we did find out that we have an official launch date for Hallmark Countdown to Christmas. I'm sure you guys are all scurrying madly, and you're at DEF CON 4, getting ready for all that action.
Getting ready. Well, 4 I think is when the schedule's released. I think
Yes,
that's
yes.
where.
Oh,
we get
that's
to
true.
4.
You're right.
But October 18th, for those that have missed the news, is
That's right.
when they're switching 24/7. Apparently the earliest of all time, which is quite exciting. I was thinking about that one year, I want to say it was like 2019, and Lifetime jumped the gun in October, and Hallmark started a weekend before they said they were going to. Do you remember that, Alonso?
Oh yeah, and they punted a crosswords mystery to the following
That's
year.
exactly right. And I was trying to remember when that like. Was it before? If there's,
But that was when they were still starting on Halloween weekend. So it was the weekend before Halloween.
Okay.
That was like, they started the Halloween weekend for a few years, and that was when they moved it up there.
Listen.
Yeah, I'm guessing that Halloween being on a Thursday is why it's so early
that's
this
why
year,
it's early.
maybe? I don't know. It's crazy. But everything's weird. Like Thanksgiving is late. Like the whole calendar is higgledy-piggledy.
I'm sure they've done there's a reason. There's a reason for it. Does that mean more? Does it mean more movies? Does it mean Thanksgiving week isn't as crazy? I haven't sat down and played with the calendar to see, hey, here's how it might shake out.
They've been doing us a solid by finishing all of the movies by December 20th, 21st. And I would love for that tradition to continue.
Well, and even last year, it was just one movie that weekend. It was The Straggler, Bethlehem. So even with the year
Sorry
prior,
about
there was just nothing. So
I will say, did we get Alonso's prediction on the?
I don't know. Did we get Alonso? We have not gotten Alonso's prediction
this week. Last week, obviously. When I say this week, I mean last week.
Of course, yeah.
All the Bramble Jam hosts have been giving when they show up for their episode, have been giving their prediction on when the Hallmark schedule will drop, and Erin is keeping track of all of those in her calendar.
As I'm sure you know, typically a month. It has been a month.
Alonso
before,
doesn't need any help here. He's gonna. What day you got, Alonso?
I'm gonna go with Tuesday, September 10th.
September 10th.
Wow.
I went with Thursday, September 12th.
Not alone. I think you're with Brian on that one. Is that no? Brian moved it to Monday, or he moved it a week later.
No, he's with Ryan.
Oh, he's with Ryan.
I know you get Brian and Ryan.
I do. Yes.
Yeah, they're the same person to Brian.
Brian is on the 10th, so he and Alonso will be together.
That's right. And then Patrick Serrano chose the 12th, which is what I chose, and then you and Brian are on your own.
What did I do? Did I go really early or did I go late?
You went like the 19th.
Patrick gets the 22nd of August.
Oh, he changed? He changed to August 22nd? Somebody originally said, was it Ryan that said originally September 12th and then he changed?
No, I literally just said.
Here it comes.
But someone said September 12th.
Ryan is on the 12th. That's what Brian just said.
Okay.
And he said Brian's on the 12th as well.
Didn't she just say
No,
that
Alonso's the 10th.
Alonso's the 10th. Okay.
So who else is on the 10th?
You said Ryan and Alonso were on the 10th.
No,
This is some great podcasting.
It's good stuff. Yeah. When you hear it
Dan
back.
and Brian were together.
No.
When am I?
Brian together.
Yes.
When am I?
The 16th.
The 16th.
Right.
So we got it. This is really good on a Monday. I know you're really excited to hear about all this.
Guys,
but
we got to
thanks
talk
for
about
this.
Believe. And trust me,
We're
when we start
trying-
talking about it, you're going to be like, can you guys go back to explaining
Whatever
calendars?
we can do
Can you do a calendar?
to not
calendar
talk
time
about
again?
this movie. We're doing it.
So it's an exciting. When are you in Venice?
The last week of the month. So we'll have to figure out how we're going to do that last Monday.
But we'll be good. Like, you'll be back by schedule release, Lord willing.
Oh, heaven. Yeah, because it's not going to be till after. I come back on Labor Day. So I will be here for schedule release and ready to drop everything and get up at the crack of dawn to join you live.
Despite what Patrick might think, they're not jumping Labor Day, right? With the schedule release.
Patrick seems to think August. That's what he thinks is coming soon.
It's bold.
That's a bold move.
Patrick's bold.
Yeah,
He's bold. Alonso, do you as a fellow Christmas lover, Scott and I were talking about it last week on Christmas morning. There is something right now that him and I, at least, both feel an increase in the Christmas spirit. We were listening to Christmas music last week, and there's something happening where it's like it's starting to feel real.
I love Alonso's reaction.
I'm getting really excited. I don't know if it's a mutual feeling across all Christmas fanatics, or if
I'm the wrong one to ask because I never quite let it go ever.
Okay.
So,
well, you're better than all of us in every way.
Stop. No, look, I think we're encroaching onto September, and like because the Burr months have become a thing for certain folks, like it's all imminent. Let's just say.
I love that Alonso never lets it go, but we do watch a Christmas movie every Monday.
That's right. Yeah.
It's never fully. He never lets it go, but also he never lets it go. So
right. Yeah.
If you never let it go, then you can't fully let it go. If you really, if you think about it,
if you're constantly soaking in it.
That's right. Let's talk Believe. Came to theaters and made so much money.
You want to talk about a real Christmas miracle?
I bought a ticket.
Oh wow, Alonso.
Well, save it. Well, I'll let you share about it in your hot take segment, because this was new to both.
The popcorn was good.
Dan and I. If you asked us, hey, which of the three of you watched the Christian Christmas movie in 2016?
It wouldn't have been Alonso.
It would have been Alonso. Yeah. It would have, I think there would have been a couple of guesses, but here we are. Alonso's favorite Christian movie, Believe, December 2nd, 2016. It went a little something like this. We meet Matthew Payton at the beginning of this movie, and at first, I didn't think that he liked Christmas, but then I find out that he's responsible for the success and the putting on of the Christmas festival. They call it a pageant. So I don't know at the beginning of this movie where this guy stands. A spoiler alert, still don't really know.
Oh, I can tell you where he stands.
Yeah, well, okay. Cut to present
the necks
day.
Of the workers.
Yes.
Yes, yeah.
Cut to present day, which
with every other white Jesus in hell.
Cut to present day, which is news because I didn't know that the beginning of this movie wasn't the present. But anyway, we see Matthew and he is in his car, and it is clear that his car has been egged by some angry people. He drives it anyway and is followed by this truck. And when he has to stop for a train crossing, these guys get out of their truck, go and break down his window, pull him out, and beat him up almost to death. So you may be wondering, what did he do?
Had to be something really bad, man. Like, he's clearly the villain, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Cut to 36 hours earlier. So you got it. And Matthew is in the middle of a heated argument. See, I guess what had happened was the town is really struggling financially. This economy, am I right? And Matthew runs this company, the auto thing,
Payton
auto plant.
Parts.
Yes, auto parts. And
O'Reilly.
Those financial hardships have impacted the business that he owns, and there's a lot of money that he owes. And his plan is to cut the cost paying his employees, and his employees say, you can't do that. You've already done it once, apparently. We're out of here. And they go on strike. So one option is to start charging to go to the Christmas pageant. And Matthew's like, over my dead body. We're not charging for that. But the truth is he might not even be able to put on the Christmas pageant at all, which if he does that, there will be a hell to pay. Believe you me. Like Matthew, so he's the worst in general, but I think we're supposed to to cheer for him. He is in business to make money, and he doesn't really care about helping people. And he doesn't even like the pageant. It was something that his grandfather started, and now he has to do it. He feels like it's lost its way. The pageant, even though they don't charge for it, is also simultaneously all about the money now.
That's right.
And he just feels like it's just not, that's not what it's all about. And so he has a tough choice to make, and he announces that they are not going to be putting on the pageant. But that doesn't work with the town. We find out that when his grandfather passed, he was given the company, and if he ever, with that also came the pageant, because the company puts on the pageant, and there was some sort of deal made with the town that said that the company will put on the pageant every year. So if you don't put on the pageant, you're going to be breaking the contract that you have. And they accuse him of only looking out for himself because apparently if he were to, they're like, wait, why don't you sell the company? But if he sells the company, he would lose his inheritance. So there's one easy way that he could start paying people and get back on track financially, and he's refusing to do it. People are really mad, a little bit about that, but mainly about the pageant. They're very mad that he is talking about not having the pageant. Cut to present day, and Matthew is really banged up because he was beat up after saying he might not do the pageant.
That's right. Yeah.
So a kid who was walking in the road sees him struggling, and his car is on fire. Not the kid, but Matthew. And so he's like, I got to get this guy some help. My mom's a nurse. So somehow this kid gets this hurt man to his mom, who is, I'm sorry, almost a nurse. Did I say a nurse?
Yeah, she was
almost
in
a nurse. That's my fault. Almost a nurse.
Yes.
The kid's name is CJ, and he is a hoot, and he believes in miracles and the power of prayer. They slowly nurse him back to health, and when he finally comes to, he realizes that he's not in some sort of luxurious house.
No.
He's with the poors. And this is like, oh, this is crazy. I got to get out of here as fast as possible. But he remembers the kindness of CJ and his mom. And so when he finds out that it's going to get real cold, he begins to think about CJ and his mom
being cold like the pores are.
So he goes to check on them, and mom is not doing well. Mom is cold, but she's also hot because she has a fever. It's one of those situations.
She's hot and she's cold.
Yes, and she's no. And so they're like, we got to get you some help. We got to get you out of here. But then also, there's so many poor people.
That's
and
right.
so what are we going to do about that? And at this point, Matthew's cold heart begins to thaw and thinks, I can't let these people be cold. And so he says, everybody, let's go to my factory.
Which the union's on strike.
Union's on strike, so it's wide open. No one's there.
That's right.
And we have heat. You can stay there as long as you need to. But when the town finds out about this, they go to shut it down. You don't have the proper permits to have people living in your factory, but he finds a workaround, literally a workaround.
What if I make the iPhone in China, but do it in 2016?
That's right.
With Americans.
He says, it's partly CJ's mom's idea, but she's basically in CJ is like, hey, we should work. If we work,
you got to work to eat, man.
You got to work to eat. If you work, then we can stay here. And he agrees with that. We can work, and people can, we can stay open 24/7. That way, people can stay here 24/7.
Sleep, work,
stay warm.
Sleep, work, die. Right?
Now, if you remember, the union is on strike. And so when the union finds out
on its luck, it's tough.
When the union finds out that Matthew has hired a bunch of people to work the factory that
you mean
aren't
homeless poor scabs?
Yes, that's exactly right. They are so mad. So one night, they make sure that Matthew isn't going to be there, and one of the union dudes who's been he's up to no good this whole movie.
Yeah.
Being in the union
As
and whatnot.
unions
Goes in and starts a fire to burn down the factory and collect the insurance money, and they can build it back up from scratch. CJ runs back into the burning building after realizing that his mom is not outside. And at this point, Matthew shows back up. He runs into the building and he saves them both. He's a hero. As he goes to the hospital to visit with them, it all comes abundantly clear to him after opening up the Bible and seeing
paid receipts.
seeing some of the paperwork that did not get burned in the fire.
That's right.
He knows that the Union Bros started the fire. And he knows that they were stealing money. They were doing some shady stuff.
Union stuff.
Shady union stuff, stealing money. He knows that unions are the worst. So as Matthew and CJ and his mom leave the hospital, they confront those people. They out them as being those nasty union workers that they are, and they head to the car. And CJ is instantly filled with sadness that there's still not going to be a pageant. But he says, you know what? I believe there's going to be a pageant. And he just keeps saying it over and over again. So they go to the place where there normally is the pageant, and it's not there. But CJ says, keep driving, because I believe. And once you know it, they get into town, and the pageant's happening a little bit, kind of, sort of. It's an underground pageant, and CJ gets to be the angel. They have worked out the proper rigging to get him to fly into the air, and Matthew and CJ's moms hold hands as the union workers all burn in hell, and that, my friends, was Believe.
We did it.
We didn't do it.
Can't believe we did it.
We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. We're going to break down Believe here on Deck the Hallmark. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. We are talking about the 2016 mega blockbuster hit, as in you could have found it at a Blockbuster had those still been open.
It made $800,000 on a $3.5 million budget, which is the best.
Believe. Yeah. Let's break it down. We're going to start with a hot take, and I'm going to throw it over to my friend Alonso, who has seen this movie, showed up opening night, bought his own tickets, and said,
this
boys.
This is before you were podcasting about this movie for anyone, right? Or did you do it on an linoleum knife?
I think we did it on linoleum knife.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
Dave and I went. We went to this. There's a theater in Burbank. It's like there's one mall in Burbank that has 3 different AMC theaters.
Wow.
And one of them is the one inside the mall, the 8-screener, where this kind of movie pops up. Like, this is where I saw at least 1, maybe 2 of the Atlas Shrugged movies.
Yeah.
We were there over the weekend to see a movie called Kneecap, and we got a trailer for a Daily Wire movie. So yeah, it's that kind of theater. Ooh. So yeah, we went to see Believe, and oucha this movie. So it seems to me that it's built on 2 terrible ideas. One of which is, what if A Christmas Story, but by Ayn Rand? And the other one being, what if It's a Wonderful Life, where Mr. Potter is the misunderstood hero?
That's right. Yep. Now we're getting there.
This movie is bonkers. I mean, like, the idea is like, oh, George Bailey, what a woke socialist. Those freeloaders in Bedford Falls should be lifting themselves up by their bootstraps. This movie has the gall to wrap itself in the Bible while basically just being this millionaire apologia, trying to say that, like, unions are bad, and homeless people should be given shelter, but only if they work for it for no money, apparently.
Yeah.
It's so much wrong with this movie, and I needed somebody else to see it just to prove that I wasn't losing my mind when I thought about what happens in this film.
Well, thank you, Alonso, for volunteering us as tribute. Appreciate that.
I had never seen this movie before, never heard of this movie before. I have, though, seen a lot of Christian movies over the years. Some better than others, some even passable. But even if you're not in the Christian sphere, you know that Christian movies have a bit of a a reputation of not being good.
Heavy-handed,
Okay, a bit
yes.
heavy-handed, not very good. And I've seen a lot of them, and I can typically still find something in every Christian movie that I've seen, even if by and large, maybe I don't believe with everything that they are saying, I can still find something in it that I'm like, yeah, I think they got that right. Or yeah, that wasn't bad. That was pretty good. Until I saw Believe, where I hate it. I hate this movie. And not only is it not a good movie as just as far as, film goes, but it also isn't a good Christian movie. And I would say it's not a Christian movie. It's listen, if you are a Christian as I am, and you watch this movie and it does not upset you, then just take some time and think, and just think through, hey, if you, pal, were sitting next to one Jesus Christ in the movie theater, and you were watching this movie together, what do you think that conversation afterwards would be? This movie made me mad, and I'm not somebody that, I really want to find something in everything that I can be like, yeah, I think they did this great. I think that was good. I struck out in this one, and it made me sad. This movie made me sad, and I don't think was the intended goal of Believe. December 2nd, 2016.
Bran hates
the movie.
I don't like it. I don't like it. And listen, and even if you're somebody who's not like, hey man, I just feel like everybody should watch this movie and be like, this is crazy that this guy is the good guy.
But they don't, Bran.
I'm naive enough to think that was the case. I was naive enough to think.
What'd you say to me during the movie?
I said, Dan,
I'm glad you're sitting down, Alonso. Wait for this.
I said, Dan, I didn't know that there were people, like normal people, not the filthy rich, not the big businessmen, but normal people that were anti-union. I just thought that it was something that everybody said, this is a good thing. It's a good thing for the employees to have parameters and guidelines that help make sure that they are supported as workers. I thought it was a thing that we all said as the little guys that would go, this is a good thing.
Yeah, there's actually a book by historian Kevin Cruz about how the evangelical church and
it's a great
very
book.
rich people
Nation
got
Under God.
together in the 30s to sort of quash the idea of worker rights and and to promote the idea of rich people being somehow now not having to go through the eye of a needle to get into the kingdom of heaven. So
Yeah,
you're welcome.
Dano?
Very few movies can say, you know what, I wish we had the integrity of Dinesh D'Souza. But this movie does hold that title. Listen, to piggyback a little bit on Bran, I've seen a lot of Christian movies in my day. Most of them are utter garbage. Most of them. However, within that garbage, if you sift down to the bottom, and I know I went to school with a cinematographer who's made a ton of these movies. I've met some of these people. Even though I disagree firmly with a lot of what they put on screen, somewhere, if you sift through all the garbage, at the bottom somewhere, there was an inkling of an idea that was good. There was a good idea, or if this is what I believe about the Bible, then how would that manifest itself on screen? If you sift through the garbage of this movie, and it will take you a fortnight, if you get to the bottom, you will find a dark, just hardened, filthy, just the worst of anything anyone has to offer. I told Bran that the Polar Express has far more in common with the characters of Jesus than anything in this movie. This is adult entertainment for Andrew Carnegie, is what this is. This movie, if you could have made movies 130 years ago, this movie would have been made to show you why your poor, decrepit self should be grateful to go in the factory for 16 hours a day, 6 days a week, and to go blind by the
line.
time you're 40. Are you kidding me right now? There is a speech in this movie, and it's not a coincidence that this is an election year, okay? I know this movie came out after the election, but these talking points come directly from one specific political candidate. Like, he gives a rant in this movie about unions, about how dare they take a 40-minute lunch. Yes. 20-minute, they have time, and this is his quote, not mine.
Maternity leave.
To take a magazine to the bathroom. That is a part of his speech. 6 months paid maternity leave, which in the United States would actually be wonderful.
Yeah.
This is a guy, and I knew from the get-go, and Bran was like, no, it can't be. There's an early scene in this movie where one character says to the other, we should be helping the poor. That's what the Bible says, but we shouldn't be giving the government shouldn't be helping the poor.
No.
As soon as that happened, I was like, this guy's the good guy. The guy in this movie who is a rotten, like, just absolutely godforsaken soul is the white Jesus of this movie. This movie is inherently evil at a molecular level. It is inherently evil on a molecular level. It is demonic. If you grew up evangelical and heard about all these things that were demonic that actually weren't, this, guys, is demonic. It's awful. And it not only that, and here's the kicker of all I just said, it's 2 hours long. It's not 83 minutes. It's two full hours, included with a post-credit scene that is white people directing rapping. And it is the bottom of the barrel. It is just the worst thing. It is not Christmas. It is not Christian. It is not good. It is a terrible movie, and I hated every second of it.
So what you're saying is you want to watch Polar Express. That's what I heard.
Comparatively. Did I say anything that was wrong, Alonso?
No. And this is exactly why I wanted you guys in particular to see this movie, because, like, yeah, sure, people, they go, well, that crusty old atheist, he hates the Lord.
No. This is the thing that makes everybody.
Let's let the kid that still thinks there's good in the world watch this movie.
That's right.
And break his soul.
Yeah.
Break his soul.
For all those of you out there that think that white privilege and Christian nationalism are myths, well, first read a book, but also watch this movie. These people claim to be Christians. It is absolutely absurd.
It's time for all the feels. It's where we talk about what in this movie gave us those feels. Alonso.
I have no feels, so I'm going to defer this portion of the program to my husband, Dave White, who has something he would like to share.
Dave White, ladies and gentlemen.
This is my favorite thing that's ever happened. Mainly just this transition.
Philo.tv
just the slow rolling. Oh, he's brought the Bible.
Here we go. He's got a Bible.
I'm going to do a little Bible preaching for y'all right now.
I love it.
Go to now, ye rich men. By the way, this is the King James version.
Yep, I can tell with the ye. Yeah,
the only version of the Bible.
That's right. Yeah.
I don't know what kind of liberal sissy new translations y'all are looking at these days, but KJV.
What about the NKJV? Will that pass or no?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Go to now, ye rich men, weep and howl for your miseries that shall come upon you. Your riches are corrupted, and your garments are moth-eaten. Your gold and silver is cankered, and the rust of them shall be a witness against you, and shall eat your flesh as it were fire. Ye have heaped treasure together for the last days. Behold, the hire of the laborers who have reaped down your fields, which is of you kept back by fraud, crieth, and the cries of them which have reaped are entered into the ears of the Lord of Sabaoth. Ye have lived in pleasure on the earth and have been wanton. Ye have nourished your hearts as in a day of slaughter. Ye have condemned and killed the just, and he doth not resist you. That's the book of James.
Yeah, it
verses,
is.
Chapter 5, verses 1 through 5.
I've never cried on this podcast, but I'm real close 6. Right now. This is
Before I go, I'd like to re-reference the book that Alonso pulled up a minute ago and didn't give a full ad to, which it deserves now. It's called One Nation Under God. It's by the historian Kevin Cruz. It's about what happened in the 1930s. This is a thorough and exhaustively detailed account of how during the Great Depression, The churches were preaching against the corporations and the banks and Wall Street as the rightful villains of the crash of Wall Street and the beginning of the Great Depression. And the corporations said, you know what, we don't like being the villains. We don't like it when people are mean to us. So we're going to go to some ambitious ministers and see what they can do with us and what we can do for them. And they did this in a campaign of very, very easy collaboration began and lasted for decades. And it became a thing where the contemporary evangelical church no longer knows how this came about. They just know that capitalism and Christianity are basically the same thing. And so that is, again, the book is called One Nation Under God. I heartily recommend it. This is the blessing of me to this podcast. I said good day.
Yeah, good. For Dave White, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, Dave White.
Those are my feels.
Second of all,
may the Lord bless you and keep you.
That was the King James version. Imagine what a real version would say, Brand. It would be far worse than that.
Yeah.
2, 3, co-sign the Kevin Cruz book. It's wonderful. If you want a less detailed historian version that still works very, very well, Jesus and John Wayne by Cobes DeMay is also wonderful. And
also,
lastly,
all you New Testament Christians out there, it was New Testament. You can't get mad. You can't get mad.
Jesus 2,000 times talks about the poor, the elderly, the orphan, the needy, giving away all your possessions. So that's right. This movie should burn a slow death in hell. I just... Oh my goodness. That's my feels too, Bran. I can't beat that. I can't. You want to know why people are leaving the church? Listen to Dave White read the KJV, everybody. That's why. That's ridiculous. I'm with Dave here.
I thought the festival at the beginning was really nice. I think if he's
back, ladies and gentlemen.
I had high hopes. And so I'll save. No, you know what? I'll do this way. What now? Not a pageant.
Not a pageant.
This is a festival.
Yeah.
With a pageant that's a part of it. The festival, very nice. Good vibes. Immaculate lights. It looked great. Let's take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll get to the way one, the what, the hallmark here on
Deck
Take
the
the Hallmark. Welcome back, everybody. We're having a good time.
Yeah, we are. Nobody's going to be upset about this episode. I feel really good about it.
Talk and believe. And it's time for the Wait What. That's where we're talking about what in this movie made us go, wait, what? I'll start with you, Alonso. Alonso, anything stick out to you?
I mean, a lot of what I wrote is very sort of a piece, which is basically like so many cuckoo bananas messages here that like, oh, it's the millionaires who work harder than everybody else. Organized labor does not function in the way that it functions in this movie, where just like there's these spontaneous strikes that happen without a single meeting. We shouldn't pay the government to take care of poor people. We should just rely upon the largesse of wealthy white dudes. Really, we're going to name the kid Clarence? Like, you don't know, movie. You are not allowed. Also, just a reminder of the importance of a director, I think, and particularly in working with child actors. You would be amazed that the kid in this movie has gone on to have a very successful career and has worked nonstop over the last decade or so because he's so terrible in this movie.
Yeah.
And I blame the director. I blame the director for never saying, you know what, you're at an 11. Can we take it to a 7? But not the kid's fault.
I have a feeling that the direction was the opposite.
Yeah, I think
he probably started
Yeah.
at a 7, said, let's go hard all the time.
Yeah. Let's see, the fact that that this woman who was a student nurse, like at no point thinks perhaps you should go to a hospital.
Yes, exactly.
Which he could clearly afford, even if she couldn't. Like that was weird. That he actually says, "I'm not Scrooge," and I wrote down, well, you're also not Scrooge. When he goes back to the factory, like he still has open wounds on his face.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah.
Throw on a Band-Aid, man. Like we're not asking for much here, They have to create actual villains who are stealing from him.
Right.
Because heaven forbid the idea that, that this guy otherwise would be able to do the Lord's work if he could just ignore those pesky unions and government regulations. But no, he's being actively stolen from, and not just, mismanaging it or being greedy or whatever. And yeah, the really, we're going to set a Bible on fire, like, calm down, movie.
Yeah.
I think the fact that they felt the need to be like, let's have the union rep guy steal, because then that way we can really justify that everything he was doing.
Not all unions.
That's right.
Not everything he was doing was. It was good. There was a bad guy.
He's a bad guy.
He's a bad guy. I've got a few wait whats. At the festival at the beginning of this movie, they do mention a baby Jesus hot dog, and what is it exactly? Like, I know, I guess, the bun is the blanket.
I've got to be honest, the weirdest part of that was I didn't know if they were making fun of what Christmas had become, or they were
is that
promoting?
Yes, I didn't know. I literally didn't know. I heard it and I was like, what?
Because that's the interesting thing about this town, and they didn't do a good, despite the 2 hours, they don't do a great job of showing us the secularization of Christmas in this town. No. Like, they don't make us as Christians be like, man, this town's going to hell in a handbasket. Look at all these things. If all that we have is they're selling baby Jesus hot dogs, and the occasional person put up Happy Holidays instead of Merry Christmas, and that's supposed to show us that this town is damned, that's just not enough. Like, there was not enough to be like, man, this town's really struggling.
Because, the challenge here is, like, if you show a regular small town Christmas pageant that is maybe more Santa centric, or like Frosty the Snowman, I don't know, like other sort of, holiday related iconography that isn't Jesus, I think your average audience looks at that and goes, yeah, and
right.
Because, like, no one goes to a Christmas pageant that is, where hot dogs are sold and expects to see Jesus and, the nativity around every corner. Like, so the movie, I don't even know how they were supposed to portray that idea of, oh no, we've gotten away from, we've lost the thread here of our Christmas pageant,
But also, it's your festival, bro. Like, if you don't like it, fix it.
It's his. That is the big one.
It's yours.
You're like, why are they taking the Christ out of Christmas? You're running the thing.
Yeah, who's they? And
yes.
It was very, very murky. At one point, he goes to a diner and he gets meatloaf and coffee, and that combo is insane.
There's no
like,
word.
Thank you.
It messes with my brain when he said it, and I just can't believe that it happened. The thing that you brought up, Dan, the how when he gets really angry and he makes that speech about the 40 hours and all this stuff, it was such a confusing speech, because at the very end of it, he ends it with, and I do all of that so they can have all those things. So he spends like 10 minutes being like, this stuff sucks, and I don't get any of it, and I don't get any of it because it's good and you should have it. The messaging was so weird there.
Poor me, all I get are the profits.
That's right. All I get are all the profits.
Worst. Yeah. And may I just suggest, when you're going down to a group of unhoused people and you have to give them the bad news that they can't stay there anymore, maybe start that speech with something other than, we're going to have to take you back to where you came from.
Yeah.
A tough line to start with from the good guy in the movie. A line that if I was a betting man, I bet that he's used that line many times, many times in his life. Dano?
I got two big ones, but a couple of small ones early. There's a weatherman who wants to tell you that a cold front's coming through to make our lead feel guilty about unhoused people that are going to be too cold. And to do that, they show you a map where from the southern tip of Florida to the northwestern corner of Montana, everywhere is sub-zero temperatures, which that is called the Ice Age. That's not a cold front. That's a whole That's a whole thing.
the
Hey,
day-
at least this movie is acknowledging climate change.
That's right. Yeah. Ahead of its time.
That's the day after tomorrow. This is a different movie.
They decided all the scenes where these people are supposed to be living in frigid temperatures. In one scene, they decide to, in post, add digital breath that's cold. And it is one of the worst looking things I've ever seen. You had $3.5 million and you're like, what if we put it in one scene? That's what you did. And then lastly, on the very short end front, Shawnee Smith is in this movie, who's probably most known for the Saw franchise. She is at some point in that series, Jigsaw. She's a big deal. And I just wrote down in this movie, she's supposed to be a doctor. She is a doctor in this movie in the same way that the lead character is a good person. She never does doctoring. She never practices doctoring. She's never working or using her mental health or her health care education in any way, shape, or form.
Maybe she's a vet.
Yeah.
We don't know what type of doctor.
That's right.
They just say doctor.
She also tries to give him the advice
Veterinarian, by the way.
that every white dude who's had a privileged son has given to his son, which is the correct advice is if you give a man a fish, he won't be hungry. If you teach a man to fish, he won't be hungry forever, or something to that regard. She says, feed a man today, he'll be hungry tomorrow. Teach a man to fish, he'll never be hungry again. There is a wires that are being crossed there.
And if you give a mouse a cookie.
That's right. Yeah. But we do need to camp out on this good guy here. This guy, there's no hyperbole here. I'm one to hyperbole. This is not hyperbole. This guy's moment in this movie, like every one of these Scrooge characters has a moment where they're like, maybe I should treat people better. Maybe I've had it all wrong. The moment for this guy is when he decides to put unhoused people to work in his factory. Now, when I say that is not what that means is we have elderly people in blankets. We have people of various shapes and sizes.
Children.
And we have children. There is a child, 9 years old, puts on if you're listening at home, puts on a full welding suit. Not as a joke, not as like a, it fits. The welding suit fits. Look, the thing about unions, I was a part of a union for about 3 years of my life, and I've never felt more job security ever in a job that I didn't own, ever, than with a union. And when I got laid off because of seniority, I was the first one hired back. I got paid vacation. I was a part of a union. The thing about unions is there are different types of unions for different skills of workers. They're operating heavy machinery. There's a lot of liability that goes on here. His big moment of what it means to be a good person is the people that have worked their tails off for him to reap all the profits should remain out in the cold. And these people who have never operated heavy machinery, children, elderly, blankets, loose leaf clothing, they could run this today with under an hour of training.
And risk their fingers.
Yes. So the insult of, as a union worker, you don't really know how to do anything is exacerbated by the fact that not only can I train these people in an hour, but that's what makes me a good person, is giving an unhoused person a reason to live. It is mind-boggling that you see a child in a full welding outfit. Not a bit. This is an actual premise of a group of people who think this is the answer to the problems in the economy.
This is the guy who had invested in a child-sized welding suit just in case the governor finally got rid of those pesky rules about child labor, which is starting to happen in this country.
That's right. Yeah. This the child care like I'm telling you, this is the stuff that goes on in this movie was a Gilded Age problem, like a legitimate first iteration of unions problem is what we're dealing with here. Brutal. Go ahead, Bram.
It's time for What the Hallmarks, where we wonder what could have been. Maybe have some clarity questions that we still have. Alonso, what are you still wondering about?
It's not so much that I'm wondering, but I have to say, this discussion is reminding me that I'm kind of glad this movie exists, because this is a give them enough rope situation, because this is basically somebody who is very clearly addressing and expressing their manifesto of like what should be and how the world should work and what their version of Christian love is. And it's there for 2 hours for us to look at and go, I'm sorry, what? And so you hear snippets of this kind of ideology from time to time, but if you get this full 2 hour concentrated dose, this is now a thing that like somebody somewhere has to defend.
Yep.
Because it's just crazy pants.
Yeah. The quiet part out loud is an understatement here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, what we didn't get at the end of this movie was an apology from Matthew to the union workers that didn't burn down his establishment.
And also that aren't getting their jobs back because
so,
they've been given away.
Well, this is what I would like. I would like to say in my wildest dreams, now that Matthew has learned the lessons of life, maybe this is what happens. They do indeed get that insurance money and they're able to build back better. And the union then comes back to work. They get their jobs back. Hey, folks that stayed there, if you would like a job, there's a job waiting for you as well. But also,
unions don't usually embrace people who broke their strike.
Sure.
I gotta be honest, Brandon, this is not a great look at Hallmark.
No. Maybe with the approval, like, hey, would you be interested? Understanding that it started with, hey, just we will want a place to stay, and then the guy that burned down the building was like, hey, you can't do that anymore.
Fill our brand new graveyard shift.
So yes. And then, inspired by goodwill towards men, he builds an amazing community of houses for the unhoused that have places to stay with heat and air. And he's all the better for it. We didn't get that at the end of this movie. We didn't get any apologies or anything like that. So I filled in some of those blanks.
You're a national treasure.
Of how I would, in my wildest dreams, Matthew would maybe handle that situation. Maybe this town's thriving now. Alonso
did spoil mine a bit, but I just want to know how many, not days, how many hours before this guy opened up a graveyard shift. This is very clear. Everyone worked from 7:30 to 3:30, and that's it. Now he's got people there round the clock. My man is making auto parts round the clock. You know it. I know it. It's not what Brand said. It's what I said. It's unfortunate. Also, hey, love people and give of yourself and give generously and be someone that this movie isn't about. Please. I don't really care who you do it in the name of. Just do it for the love of everything good and decent.
In a world full of Matthews, be a James. I think is the moral that we learned today.
Nicely done.
We learned.
I like it.
Yeah,
we learned that lesson today. Let's look forward to next week where we're. The time's finally come.
We're going to do Atlas Shrugged? Really? That's crazy.
We are doing a movie that, this was nice with the way that we did this. You saw this, and then next week when you watch Arthur Christmas, Dan, you will realize that it is art, that it is wonderful, that it is a fantastic movie. And I'm looking forward to that. Next week we're watching Arthur Christmas. Alonso and I are going to have a great time.
Yeah.
Until then, remember the first to wish you a Merry Christmas.
Deck the Hallmark's a Bramble Jam podcast is produced by Aaron Shea. For more information on Deck the Hallmark, you can go to deckthehallmark.com. For more information on the Deck the Hallmark family, you can go to bramblejamplus.com. Deck the Hallmark is presented by Philo TV. For a free trial of Philo, go to philo.tv/DTH.